This episode is brought to you by Heyday. Feeling stressed? Take a moment for yourself with Heyday. Stroll through rows of golden wheat, tend to cute barnyard animals, and discover the joys of a digital farm retreat. You don't have to hop in a car or catch a plane. Escape to the farm at the tap of a finger. With Heyday, you're not just tending to a farm, you're tending to yourself. Heyday. Search Heyday, that's Hay space DAY, in your favorite app store. Heyday is a free-to-play mobile game and offers optional in-app purchases and random rewards.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all? That line is one that has haunted me and sparked my interest in fairy tales ever since I encountered it when I watched the original Disney version of Snow White. Also, then I read the Brothers Grimm fairy tale and fell in love with that original version of Snow White. So, whether you love the Disney film, Snow White, A Tale of Terror, featuring Sigourney Weaver, Snow White live at Radio City Music Hall, Snow White and the Huntsman, Snow White Fairy Tale Theater with an amazing performance by Vanessa Redgrave, I must say, or the live-action Snow White that just came out that I still have avoided to see, and I'm iffy about seeing it, but that's a conversation for another day. My friend Christian Garcia just did a podcast episode about Snow White featuring my friend Angela, too. Shout out, Angela. She's part of the ITBR book club as well, and we get to see a lot of Broadway musicals together, and Christian joins us too, with my fiance, my parents. It's a whole fun time in the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. So, you know, if you want to join the book club, remember to join it. It's free. Now, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs has a lot of queer imagery from the evil queen, who kind of, you know, has some campy drag persona elements. I also must say that gay men, narcissism, obsessed with beauty and staying young. Maybe the evil queen isn't that far off from being connected to some gay male iconography, but that's some psychological conversation I might get into with Christian offline. I hope you all enjoyed this clip that Christian sent me from his podcast. Listen to the rest of his episode on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. That Old Gay Classic Cinema. O-L. And you can follow him on TikTok and Instagram at That Old Gay Classic Cinema. I hope you enjoy the conversation. And like I said, you're going to be left on the edge of your seat. So listen to the rest of the episode on his podcast.
When we're faced with hardship, or when we're faced with our circumstances where our biological families may not accept us or appreciate us, or they're cast out altogether, finding that chosen family is so important. And the fact that the dwarves will now do anything for Snow White, even go so far as to chase the queen up the cliffside to get revenge on her for harming Snow White, and the fact that they build her the glass coffin and remain vigil at her side even after in death, like they just can't bring themselves to bury her, and their unconditional love for her is something that I think was so touching to watch again as an adult, to see that relationship. Obviously there's the romantic relationship between the prince and Snow White, but I think the true love story of this movie is with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And
completely agree. 100%.
Yeah. It's so sweet as well. Like the fact that she like when they're going off to work and everything, and she kisses each of them on the head, and then when she does the same thing when she leaves on the horseback and everything with when the prince wakes her up, but you feel that connection that they all have together as a family. Mm-hmm. And especially in the dance sequence that they have after they've had dinner and everything, when they're all playing music, and you've got Dopey on top of Sneezy's shoulders in that long coat dancing with Snow White, which is probably one of the most like recognizable images from that movie.
It is so
Um,
iconic.
it's so iconic. And I love because I live in Southern California. I've been to Disneyland and I've been on the Snow White ride, both when it was the Scary Adventure and then after its remodel that they did. Um, and still the animatronics hold up, and they have that sequence with the dancing and everything, which I love. Um, but let's get into talking about the Queen. I think we would be remiss not to dive deep into the evil Queen here
Hmm.
because she's just so, I'm going to use this word again, she's delicious. She's just sinister and seductive, and her obsession with youth and beauty is something that's obviously been at the core of every adaptation of Snow White. Um, and it's never established, at least not in the animated film, the age difference between the Queen and Snow White, but I would get the idea that she is like she's probably like closer in age than maybe Snow White's biological mother. I would just make a guess about that. And then but the fact that like nobody can be more beautiful than she can. Nobody can be more fair than she can. But the thing about fairest in the land, it's that it's not about looks, it's about her heart. And so, as beautiful as the queen can be, she can never be the fairest in the land if she is truly evil and rotten to the core.
Mhm.
Right. She can't be the fairest if she is the way she is. Like she's hateful, she's conniving, all these things, all these negative things. And, she just could never have the heart that Snow White has.
Mhm. I think maybe that's why she would have wanted the heart. So she could, there are many tales that
Oh, yeah.
there are many versions of the story that she actually eats the heart of the boar, which she
Oh,
thinks is the heart of Snow White. And if you've seen Tale of Tales with Selma Hayek as the queen, they actually take that route. And another favorite adaptation of Snow White of mine is the one with Miranda Richardson. She actually eats the heart of the boar when she thinks it's the heart of Snow White, and she makes it into a stew. And it's like,
oh.
it's just, I love how dark it is. I'm like, I'm so weird. I'm like, yes, eat that heart.
Ew. But and I also the entire sequence of when she's transforming into the old crone,
Mhm.
it's probably my I recite it verbatim to make my boyfriend laugh, and I do her voice and everything, and it makes him laugh. It's one of our fun things. Like I reenact scenes when we watch movies for the umpteenth time. But
I
that
play acted that scene too.
that entire transformation sequence is also again like the forest sequence so spectacular with the use of like the spinning swirling imagery and everything, the way that her hair goes from black to white, the way that her hands like her fingers extend and then her you can see the bones underneath it. And
It's very Hitchcockian before Hitchcock was a thing.
yes, it is, it's definitely it's I think about like leading up to this movie, where the horror space was with scary movies, and you had films like Phantom of the Opera and Dracula and Frankenstein and The Mummy. So to put horror, like I'm putting horror in quotations. I mean, it's 1930s horror. It's not modern day when I use that
Mhm.
term, but to use classic horror elements in an animated movie to heighten up that fear factor is captivating. So captivating. And it keeps people on edge. And it's all of her sequences are fantastic. Every time we cut away to the queen, I'm just and then when she transforms into the hag, she becomes a drag queen. Like she becomes so sassy and so funny. Like I'm there like thirsty? Have a drink. Like that's it's so it's so silly, but it's so funny coming out of her voice that way. And this is one of it's a well-known fun behind the scenes fact about Lucille Laverne, who voiced the evil queen, and how the creatives also wanted her to voice the old crone. So they asked her in the recording booth, like, can you do an old hag voice? And she said, yes, I can. Can you just give me a minute? And she stepped out of the recording booth and walked out of the room. And then she came back in, and then she started reading the lines with the hag voice. And the creatives were like, that was incredible. How did you do that? And she goes, oh, I just took out my teeth.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yes.
That was not what I thought you were gonna say. I just thought she was like, "Oh yeah, give me a second. Let me get into character. Come back." I didn't do it. I did not think that was gonna.
She took out her teeth and she was able to do the old crone voice. And
Oh, I love that.
I love it so much. It's one of my favorite fun facts about the making of this movie. I'm like, that is iconic.
So iconic. How old was she when she did the role? I'm like looking it up while I
Yeah.
ask you.
Oh my God, that is a good question.
So Lucille Laverne, she was born in 1872, and this movie was made in
Oh wow.
1936. So if I grab my
I'm not good at
calculator
math,
really
so
quick,
if one of you
Am
want
I good at math?
1936.
Oh, she was in her 60s
She
because
was in her 60s.
she died in 1945, so not just a few years later.
And once again, the inspiration that Snow White had on The Wizard of Oz, it was because of the success of the evil queen and her seductive, beautiful persona that the initial idea was to make the Wicked Witch of the West just like the evil queen, like slinky and seductive. And Gail Sundegaard was originally going to be in beautiful sequins from head to toe, like a black sequence with a big sequence black witch hat. But then the creatives were like, no, wicked witches are ugly. They have to be like the old crone. And so they put Gail Sundegaard in a bunch of makeup. And then she was like, I can't do this. You have to get a different actress. I'm not going to be ugly. So she walked. And then they got
Oh,
Margaret Hamilton to play the part.
thank God they did.
Yes.
She
Gail
was
yeah. And
iconic.
it was perfect because, and one of the fun like things is that when there was sort of like a studio memo that was written by Disney to the creatives at MGM after The Wizard of Oz got greenlit, and they put it on Snow White stationery, and they had the characters on it, and the old crone was in the bottom, but because of the print of the paper, it looked like she was green, and so that's one of the things that people think is like an inspiration for how they wanted to paint the Wicked Witch of the West green for
So funny.
The Wizard of Oz. Yeah, so again, so much influence from Snow White to not just The Wizard of Oz, but also, again, the fantasy genre sort of spun out of this movie and everything. Like, we didn't really have fantasy films before this movie either. And it was
Right.
really, it was introducing multiple different genres and making waves in the film industry. So it's just another one of the many reasons to love this movie so much.
I mean, the Queen for me is an icon of drag, of camp, and I think for me, she's an icon in queer, in a queer library because she basically is the epitome of wanting to be beautiful, wanting to stay young, wanting to have this sense of feeling beautiful and having other people tell her that she's beautiful. And I think it's sort of that the Queen was this mask the entire time for the hag, because that's basically what she felt on the inside.
Oh my goodness, I never thought of it that way, but that's a brilliant analysis, Christian. That is.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm going to shout out Serena Valentino. I actually have every single one of her villain series books. Sorry, I had to throw this in because I'm a bookworm.
Yes.
These books, she does like these villains collections, and this one is the very first one that she did. It's Fairest of All, the tale of the Wicked Queen. On the front cover, you have the Queen, and then when you open it up, it's the hag on the inside.
Wow.
thing. You could buy it at any retail bookstores. I would highly recommend them if you love the Disney villains because she does each and every one. And this in July, she's coming out with the Queen of Hearts. So I'm definitely going to be
Ooh.
pre-ordering that one.
You have to read those in order, right, Christian?
Yes, you have to
Yeah.
read these in order. There's so far there are six 12 books, sorry, 12 books. 13 will be The Queen of Hearts. And if you guys love other Disney books, there is a Twisted Tale version of Snow White, which is Mirror Mirror. What If the Evil Queen Poisoned the Prince by one of my favorite authors, Jen Kalanita. She's actually one of my favorite art authors. So yeah, so this is actually, I like to read them in Disney chronological order. So I always put Snow White first, and then I put Cinderella, then Alice in Wonderland, then Peter Pan. And they're so, but you don't have to read these in order. You could just pick one up, and
I was
it's,
gonna say, yeah, those
you
are
don't
like,
have to.
yeah.
There's
I have
another
the
book
Beauty and the
I
Beast one of
love.
that.
This is another by
Yes, I read that.
Tess and Jonah Odette, A Taste of Poison, which is a Snow White retelling. I haven't read it yet, but it's definitely on my list to read. Shout out to Books and Crafts Jess. She actually recommended this series to me, and I have each and every one of these books. So yeah. And one more, I could not leave here without saying Mirror Mirror by Gregor Maguire. I have each and every one of his fairy tale retellings. After Alice, Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister, and this one, of course, and Wicked,
Mhm.
um, which thankfully I got signed by him in person. So that was a very magical moment. So yeah, guys, also read more because books
Yes,
are
read.
More
now
books.
becoming extinct as we fucking know it. So please pick up a book and read.
Yes.
That for me. Forgive me for the language, but
That's
it has been long overdue, and we need to support books and independent book stores
stores.
as well.
Yes.
Your local library.
Money,
Yes.
libraries,
Yes.
exactly, libraries, independent bookstores. We just need to stop with Amazon buying because I'm trying to do better by buying from different book outlets. Actually, one of them actually is called Book Outlet, and another
Oh,
one that I use is A Books as well, which is an independent online bookstore that I use. That actually I get books for like $3, and it's like it's free shipping since like from here. So I was like, okay, I'll just get a used, very good copy for like $3, and it's just support bookstores and support libraries because books are becoming extinct as we know it. They're getting banned all over the place for different things. So yeah. Anywho, tangent over. Let's get back into Snow White. Sorry.
That's okay.
It's
It's
okay. I
you're
love a good fairy tale retelling. They're my favorite kind of
Oh,
fantasies to
me
read.
too.
And yeah, I love them. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to message me and I'll send you all the links for everything.
Please do. Yes. I'll definitely text you after this.
Yes.
I will say I know that I'll go off on just a minor tangent, but in after Disney's animated Snow White, my favorite retelling is definitely Once Upon a Time because I think that
I've been rewatching Once Upon a Time.
the way that they've re-envisioned the evil queen is that
Ah,
she's not evil because she's obsessed with beauty and vanity. It's because she's seeking revenge because Snow White